Most people think alcohol gives you something: relaxation, confidence, a good time. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Alcohol doesn't give you anything. It takes something away. And while it's doing that, while you're sitting there thinking you're unwinding after a long day, alcohol is quietly attacking nearly every organ and system in your body, from your brain cells to your DNA. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a scare tactic. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete map of what alcohol is actually doing inside you, and you will never look at a drink the same way again. Here's where most people get it wrong. When you ask the average person what alcohol does to their health, their mental model stops at the surface. Hangovers, weight gain, maybe a bad decision or two on a Saturday night, the visible stuff, the stuff you can laugh off the next morning. And that's exactly the problem. Because the real damage, the stuff that actually threatens your life, is happening underneath all of that. Slowly, quietly, cumulatively. And by the time you notice it, the damage has been compounding for years, sometimes decades. The reality is that alcohol attacks more or less every organ and system in your body. Its list of toxicities is genuinely endless. And the reason most people never connect the dots is that we live in a culture where alcohol is so deeply normalized that not drinking it requires an explanation. Think about that. It's the only drug on earth where abstaining makes you the weird one. Nobody asks you why you don't smoke crack. Nobody pressures you to inject heroin at dinner, but turn down a glass of wine and suddenly you need a reason. That normalization is the camouflage. It's what keeps people from seeing what's really happening inside them. So this video isn't about moralizing. It's not about telling you what to do. It's a complete systems map, organ by organ, of what alcohol actually does once it enters your body. And what you do with that information is entirely up to you. But here's what I know, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with what alcohol actually is, because this is where the whole thing begins to unravel. Alcohol, ethanol specifically, is not a food, it's not a nutrient, it's not a medicine. It's a psychoactive drug and a classified carcinogen. The World Health Organization has it on the same list as asbestos, formaldehyde, and tobacco smoke. Not because of some bureaucratic technicality, because the evidence is overwhelming and has been for decades. And yet we treat it like it belongs in a gift basket. The moment you swallow alcohol, your body doesn't greet it like nutrition. It treats it like a threat. Your liver immediately drops everything else it's doing and prioritizes breaking down the ethanol because your body can't store it. It can store carbohydrates, fats, protein, but alcohol, it has to go now. So your liver converts the ethanol into a compound called acetaldehyde. And this is where things get genuinely frightening. Acetaldehyde is up to 30 times more toxic than the ethanol itself. It's a reactive molecule, which means it's chemically unstable and it attacks cells on contact. If alcohol is a pistol, acetaldehyde is a shotgun. And here's what most people don't understand. This process cannot be bypassed. It cannot be hacked. It doesn't matter how much water you drink, how much food you eat beforehand, how expensive the wine is, or how slowly you sip it. The ethanol will be converted into acetaldehyde every single time. Even as tolerance builds and you feel less of the buzz, the toxic byproducts keep accumulating. Your body just got faster at processing them. The damage doesn't slow down because you stop feeling drunk. The damage continues at exactly the same rate. You just stop noticing. Now let's talk about the brain, because this is where the real deception lives. When you take that first sip and start feeling good, relaxed, loosened up, less anxious, your natural assumption is that alcohol gave you something. It feels like it added relaxation to your system, but that's not what happened. The first drink doesn't feel good because alcohol gives you something. It feels good because it temporarily removes something, baseline anxiety that your own brain created in response to your last drinking session. Here's the mechanism. Alcohol enhances the activity of GABA, which is your brain's brake pedal, the neurotransmitter that calms you down. At the same time, it suppresses glutamate, the accelerator, the neurotransmitter responsible for alertness and excitability. So you get this wave of sedation that feels like relaxation. But it's not relaxation, it's chemical suppression. Your brain isn't calm, it's being muffled. And the distinction matters enormously because of what happens next. Your brain is an adaptation machine. It doesn't just sit there and take it. When alcohol repeatedly enhances GABA and suppresses glutamate, your brain starts pushing back. It downregulates GABA receptors, so you need more alcohol to get the same calming effect. And it upregulates glutamate activity to to compensate for the suppression. The result? When you're sober, your brain is now running with weaker brakes and a more sensitive accelerator. That's why regular drinkers feel more anxious without alcohol than they did before they ever started drinking. The anxiety you're drinking to relieve was literally manufactured by your last drink. That's the trap. And most people never see it because each drink temporarily patches the problem it created. But the structural damage goes even deeper. Alcohol is a neurotoxin, a substance that poisons the nervous system. And with chronic consumption, that toxicity adds up. Brain cells die. And unlike liver cells, brain cells are generally irreplaceable. Once one dies, there's no replacing it. The result is a literal shrinking of the brain's volume, something clearly visible on MRI and CT scans. The areas hit hardest are the ones governing memory, decision-making, and impulse control. The exact functions you need to recognize that alcohol is a problem in the first place. And there's a free 7-minute training that walks you through a completely different approach to changing your relationship with alcohol, nothing to do with willpower or therapy or sitting in meetings. It's already helped thousands of people, and it won't be free forever. The link is right below this video in the description. Enter your name and email, and it starts immediately. And the brain damage is only part of the picture, because what's happening below the neck is just as devastating. Let's move to the body. And let's start where the damage is most concentrated, the liver. Your liver is ground zero. It's the organ doing the heavy lifting of converting ethanol into acetaldehyde and then into acetate. And every time it does this, it sustains damage. In the early stages, fat starts building up in the liver cells. This is called fatty liver disease, and it can develop after just a few days of heavy drinking. Most people have no symptoms. They feel completely fine, but inside, the organ is already changing. If the drinking continues, fatty liver progresses to alcoholic hepatitis, which is inflammation of the liver. The cells start swelling, they start dying, scar tissue begins to form. This is called fibrosis. And if it keeps going, fibrosis becomes cirrhosis, which is permanent, irreversible scarring that fundamentally compromises the organ's ability to function. At that point, the liver can no longer filter toxins effectively. It can't produce the proteins your blood needs to clot, and it can't regulate the chemicals that keep the rest of your body running. Cirrhosis kills tens of thousands of people every year, and it starts with fatty liver that feels like nothing. Now let's talk about cancer, because this is the one most people still don't know about. Alcohol is a proven cancer-causing agent. Carcinogen is the scientific term. It's directly linked to cancers of the mouth, throat, esophagus, liver, colon, and breast. Not at extreme levels, not only in people who drink a bottle of vodka a day. At even moderate consumption levels, the risk begins to rise. A 2018 study published in The Lancet analyzed data from 600,000 drinkers across 19 countries and found that there is no safe level of alcohol consumption when it comes to overall health outcomes. Zero. The idea that a glass of wine a day is good for you has been debunked repeatedly. The supposed cardiovascular benefits were based on flawed studies that compared moderate drinkers to a control group that included former heavy drinkers and people who quit due to illness. When you correct for that methodological error, the benefit vanishes. The hormonal disruption is another layer most people never consider. Alcohol lowers testosterone in men, it raises estrogen. It interferes with the entire endocrine system. This isn't subtle. It affects body composition, so you hold more fat and build less muscle. It affects mood, energy, motivation, even libido. Men who drink regularly and then stop often report feeling like a completely different person within weeks. Not because they gained some magical new thing, because they stopped suppressing the hormonal system that was trying to keep them sharp, lean, and driven the entire time. And the cardiovascular effects deserve their own correction, because the myth that red wine protects your heart has been one of the most damaging pieces of health misinformation in modern history. Acute intoxication raises your heart rate. Chronic drinking weakens the heart muscle itself, a condition called alcoholic cardiomyopathy. It raises blood pressure. It increases the risk of atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heart rhythm that can lead to stroke. The American Heart Association has never recommended that anyone start drinking for cardiovascular benefit, and the studies that seem to show a protective effect, they've been systematically dismantled over the last decade. The heart doesn't benefit from alcohol. it endures it. Now let's get into the damage most people can't feel at all. The slow, invisible erosion happening in systems you don't think about until something goes seriously wrong, starting with sleep. Because this is the one that affects literally everything else. You think alcohol helps you sleep, and it does, sort of. It sedates you, but sedation is not sleep. Alcohol suppresses REM, sleep, the deep restorative stage where your brain consolidates memories, clears metabolic waste, and resets emotional circuits. So even if you're in bed for 8 hours after drinking, your brain doesn't actually recover. You wake up groggy, tired, foggy, and you blame it on not sleeping enough or getting older or being stressed. But it's not age, it's not stress. It's the fact that your brain was chemically prevented from doing its job overnight. Multiply that by hundreds or thousands of nights and you begin to understand why chronic drinkers feel like they're operating at 60% capacity, because they are. Your gut takes serious damage too, and this one has cascading effects throughout the entire body. Alcohol disrupts the gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria that plays a role in everything from digestion to immune function to mood regulation. It increases intestinal permeability, which is sometimes called leaky gut. That means partially digested food particles and bacterial toxins can pass through the gut lining into the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation. It also impairs nutrient absorption. So even if you're eating well, your body isn't extracting what it needs. Over time, this creates deficiencies that compound. Your energy drops, your skin suffers, your immune system weakens, and you never connect it to the drinks. Speaking of the immune system, regular drinking suppresses your immune response in ways that are well documented but rarely discussed. Your body becomes more vulnerable to infections, wounds heal more slowly. The inflammatory response becomes dysregulated, meaning your body either underreacts to actual threats or overreacts to things that aren't threats, which is the mechanism behind chronic inflammation. A 2019 review published in Alcohol Research found that even moderate drinking can alter immune pathways within hours of consumption. Not days, hours. Your body's defense system takes a hit every single time you drink. And here's where it gets truly alarming. Perhaps the most devastating thing alcohol does is something you'll never feel, never see on a scan, and never notice until it's too late. Alcohol damages your DNA. Specifically, it interferes with your body's ability to repair genetic errors. Every day, your cells divide and copy their DNA, and errors happen naturally. Your body has repair mechanisms to catch and fix those errors before they become dangerous. Alcohol disrupts those mechanisms. It causes breaks in DNA strands and then impairs the systems designed to fix them. This is one of the core pathways through which alcohol causes cancer, not through some vague association, through direct, measurable interference with the molecular machinery that protects you from uncontrolled cell growth. That's not opinion. That's hard science, confirmed across dozens of studies. And it's the part of the alcohol story that almost nobody knows about. So let's step back and look at what we've actually mapped here. Your brain is being shrunk, rewired, and chemically destabilized. Your liver is processing a compound 30 times more toxic than the alcohol itself and sustaining cumulative damage with every session. Your hormones are being suppressed and disrupted. Your heart is being weakened. Your sleep is being sabotaged at the deepest level. Your gut lining is being eroded. Your immune system is being compromised. Your DNA repair mechanisms are being interfered with. And every single one of these effects is happening whether you feel them or not. That's the part that gets people. It's not that alcohol hurts and you push through. It's that alcohol hurts and you don't even know. And if you're realizing right now that this goes much deeper than you thought, there's a free 7-minute video linked in the description below that lays out a completely different approach to changing how you think about alcohol. Thousands of people have watched it and say it felt like a switch flipped in their brain. It's not published anywhere else online and it's free right now. Enter your name and email and it starts right away. And this full body map is exactly why that shift matters. Here's the good news, and there is genuinely good news. Your body is remarkably resilient. Many of these effects begin reversing surprisingly fast once alcohol is removed. Liver fat starts clearing within days. Sleep architecture begins normalizing within the first week. Hormonal balance starts returning. Anxiety drops as your brain recalibrates its GABA and glutamate systems. Inflammation markers come down, mental clarity sharpens. People who quit drinking consistently report that after a few weeks, they feel like a completely different person, like they've been living behind a dirty window and someone finally cleaned it. The damage you've already sustained matters, but the damage you prevent by stopping now matters more. Every drink you don't have is a cycle of acetaldehyde. Your liver doesn't have to process. A night of REM sleep, your brain actually gets a set of DNA repair mechanisms that get to do their job without interference. The compound effect of not poisoning yourself is staggering. And most people massively underestimate how good they can feel because they've never experienced their body running without this chemical drag. So that's the complete map: brain, liver, gut, hormones, heart, immune system, sleep, DNA. Alcohol touches all of it, and most of the damage is invisible until it isn't. The question isn't really whether alcohol is doing this to you. The science is settled. The question is what you do now that you know. If you want to see exactly what happens inside your body when you stop drinking day by day, week by week, the timeline of how your body repairs itself, click the video on the screen right now.